It sounds like you're describing a scene where Ivanka Trump looked across the table at Barack Obama inside the Kennedy Center, then calmly made a remark that definitely didn't feel off the cuff. It came across like something she had carefully planned and practiced for a long time, almost as if she'd been waiting for the perfect moment to finally say it.
Tonight, for the first time, I am releasing my official birth video. Now, I warn you, no one has seen this footage in 50 years. Not even me.
White House releasing copies of President Obama's original long-form birth certificate. The administration is hoping to put the so-called birther issue to rest once and for all. The president says the country has more important issues to deal with.
With Donald Trump talking about this almost every day. Yes, as you point out, this is not something that just came along yesterday. It had been around during the campaign. It had been around early in the president's administration, and they had released the short form, which is the legal document now that's recognized in the state of Hawaii. But the controversy, as you know, has been over that long form.
But it requires a certain honesty in how we look at these issues, and that's part of what I tried to emphasize in the speech. And the overwhelming majority of law enforcement officers across the country do a very tough job very well and prioritize making sure that they're treating people equally. But I think that there are going to be pockets of problems.
Inside the Kennedy Center, Ivanka Trump looked across the table at Barack Obama and, in a calm but unmistakably sharp tone, made a remark that sounded like she'd been holding on to it for a long time, waiting for exactly the right moment to say it. She claimed his birth marked the beginning of the greatest political fiction ever presented to the American people, and for a few seconds the entire room went completely still, with everyone expecting the conversation to explode into a shouting match. Instead, Obama stayed calm and simply replied that he was born in Hawaii on August 4, 1961, adding that the fact she was willing to make a statement like that in public said everything about what the evening might cost her. The atmosphere shifted immediately as the moderator, Anita Hill, asked Ivanka to explain what she meant. She said she stood by her words, and Obama answered by explaining that the birther conspiracy had never been true and had always been used to question his legitimacy instead of debating his policies. He pointed to public records, state verification, and newspaper birth announcements confirming where he was born, then told her that if she wanted to argue about political branding, she should call it that instead of using language that echoed efforts to delegitimize him. That response changed the mood in the room. Ivanka clarified that she wasn't questioning his birth certificate but criticizing what she saw as the political mythology built around his public image, arguing that criticism of his policies was often treated as criticism of what he represented. Obama nodded and said that was a much stronger argument than the way she had opened. From there, the discussion became more thoughtful as Ivanka argued that many critics of his healthcare law, spending decisions, and foreign policy had been judged too broadly, while Obama acknowledged that some criticism of his administration had been unfairly characterized. At the same time, he said some attacks genuinely reflected racial resentment and attempts to undermine his legitimacy, explaining that both realities could exist together and that the real challenge was telling the difference. The audience responded with respectful applause before Ivanka asked whether he would apply the same standard to her father. Obama said he would, explaining that Donald Trump was responsible for the actions and statements of his own administration, even if not every supporter shared that responsibility. The conversation then turned to online attacks against political families after Anita Hill mentioned false stories targeting members of the Trump family. Obama immediately condemned those attacks, saying political disagreements never justified inventing personal scandals or dragging relatives into the fight. Ivanka shared that her daughter had seen some of those posts and asked questions no child should ever have to ask, and Obama responded with understanding by recalling what his own daughters experienced growing up in the public eye. He said basic standards of decency either apply to everyone or they apply to no one. When Anita Hill returned to Ivanka's opening remark and asked whether she still stood by it, Ivanka paused before admitting she wanted to change her wording. She acknowledged that using the word birth had been a mistake because it echoed a false narrative she should never have repeated, explaining that her real criticism was about Obama's political image, not the facts of where he was born. Obama listened carefully before saying it might be the most unexpected moment of the night. The audience applauded as he accepted her correction and responded directly to her revised argument, saying that every public figure develops a political identity that helps people understand their message and that his own story of hope, constitutional law, and national possibility reflected reality. He added that a powerful story isn't false simply because it's powerful. From that point on, the debate stayed intense but became far more constructive, covering healthcare, government spending, race, media narratives, accountability, and the difference between criticizing policies and attacking people. Obama argued that a president's record should always be open to scrutiny while family members deserved protection from false personal accusations, saying accountability and fairness should always exist together. Near the end, Anita Hill asked what kind of chaos the evening had actually created. Obama answered that it was the chaos of precision in a time that often rewards exaggeration, the chaos of disagreement without hostility, and the chaos that comes from correcting mistakes in public. Ivanka added that it was also the unexpected experience of someone defending your family when it would have been easier not to. In the end, the moment that spread across the internet wasn't the opening accusation but the closing exchange, with Ivanka admitting her wording had been wrong and Obama quietly acknowledging her correction. It became memorable not because of the controversy that started the conversation, but because it ended with two political opponents recognizing the difference between criticizing policies and attacking people, between public records and political narratives, and between conflict and accountability.